So let's take a look at the scene again. There's a lot of action going on, so we have to make sure that all the arcs are going to work. If this was a CGI, a 3D animated figure, then we wouldn't really have to worry quite so much about it because all that would tend to be taken care of. We have to really go in though and take care of the nuts and bolts ourselves. So let me show you very roughly how this is done, the procedure. Go back to frame 1. Back in the day on paper and pencil, the process would be to put a clean sheet over the drawing and to get our pencil. And let's pick a body part. So I'm going to select the finest brush tool I can and just put a little X mark on the center of the mass of the head. And we'll move to the next frame. And actually what we can do is number that 1. And we move to the next keyframe, which is here. We'll number that 13 because that's the keyframe that we're currently on. Move to the next keyframe, and that's 17. So what we're seeing here is an arc pattern, kind of like join the dots. Let's move to the next keyframe, 21, which is here. So we're going from 1 to 13, and then we're going down to 17 and up to 21. I'll go to the next one, 23. And we keep proceeding like this, 29. And what we're looking for is images that might be out of arc, frames that might be doing something a little strange. So far, not looking too bad. Might be a little bit of a bump there. So that's the arc plot. And this is one that I did earlier. I was a little more precise with it. So that's the process of plotting the arcs. So I'm going to delete that and show you the finished, much more detailed product. And what I've done is, you see these little tick marks, these represent the in-between frames and where they're going to go, as per the timing charts. So if you look at the timing chart, for example, from keyframe number 1 through 13, the spacings of the ticks here represent the in-between frames. And if we go to the next keyframe, 13 to 17, there's a single in-between there. We're going to have one drawing here, and so forth. So I just simply plotted out the tick marks, roughly where they're going to go. And what jumped out at me quite quickly were a couple of trouble spots, and let me show you where they were. So I created a little error chart of things that I think would really help. So the biggest problem that I noticed here was we're slowing in at the top of the leap, but then we're moving very fast all of a sudden. So that's going to catch the eye as a little jolt in the physics of the action. So that's why I put a little red mark with add. That will mean an extra drawing has to be added. And I felt also that this keyframe here, which, let's see, on the original, 23, is a little too close. And I felt if we moved it back just a little bit, it would have a much nicer, smoother spacing slowing into number 29. And I also felt that another in-between frame here between 13 and 17 would be a much more natural slow out from the top of this move into here. Having only one in-between between 13 and 17 might feel a little bit sharp. And I also added another frame down here between 41 and 51. So that will obviously change the numbering of all these timing charts. And I made notes where renumber keys and charts were needed. Well, that's pretty much everything after frame 13. Adding these frames changes all the numbers of all the charts, which is why I was recommending not to write in every single number on all these charts here, because chances are very good you're going to have to change them. So here is the final timing chart, all nicely cleaned up. And now when you look at that, if you imagine your eye tracking over it, it's got some nice texture in that not everything is moving at an even track, like a railroad track. You've got some fast areas here, slower areas here before we descend, and a slight slow one at the bottom, and then a fast move before we ease in at the final frame. And as you can see here, I have renumbered all the keyframes on this diagram. So the next thing to do will be to correct the timing charts and the timeline to reflect the newly corrected arc plot.